Welcome to the today's lecture on quadratic equations. The first question is, what is quadratic equation? So starting, what is quadratic equation? We all have learned about the polynomials. So let's take an example of few of them. Ax plus v is a polynomial of single variable and single degree, degree 1. Ax plus by plus c is again a polynomial, but here degree is 1, but the number of variables are 2. Ax square plus bx plus c is again a polynomial. Here x variable variable x has a power of 2, so degree of this polynomial is 2, and this polynomial is known as quadratic polynomial. This polynomial is known as quadratic polynomial. So when we equate this polynomial to 0, we get the quadratic equations. See this one, ax plus b was a polynomial. When we equated it to this 0, we get the polynomial equation, linear equation. What we know is linear equation. Similarly, ax plus by plus c, equating it to the 0, we get the linear equation in two variables. And now the final one, quadratic polynomial. When we equate it to the 0, we get the quadratic equation. So this is the interested equation of this topic. This is the equation in which we are interested. This is a quadratic polynomial. We equate it to this quadratic polynomial to 0, we get the quadratic equation. So another question you may ask is it necessary that we equate each polynomial to 0? No, it is not necessary to equate polynomial to 0. We can equate to anything. Like we can write this ax plus b is equal to 0. C, it is again an equation, and we can convert this equation into this form. How? By transposing the c from here to here. We will end up with ax plus b minus c is equal to 0. So it is the same form which we had discussed. So this is the quadratic equation. But here one thing to be noted is a is not equal to 0, because when a will be equal to 0, that is when a will be equal to 0, this term will vanish out. When this term will vanish out, we will left with this one. And this one, as you know, is a linear equation. It will no longer be a quadratic equation. And you have to know that this form is known as standard form of quadratic equation. What we call this form is a standard form of quadratic equation. Now the next very important question is, which is in your mind, is what are the applications of this? Is this useful? Yeah, it has numerous applications. Let's discuss few of them. In physics, you have learned this equation. When you have to solve this equation for t, which is time, when you have to solve this equation for t, it will be you are solving a quadratic equation actually. So let's take the case of this equation. See, this is a horse moving from A to B, and from A to B the displacement is 20 meters. His initial velocity initial velocity is 1 meter per second square, 1 meter per second. A acceleration is 2 meter per second square, and displacement is 20 meter. So we know the governing equation will be this here. Here by putting the values of s, u, and acceleration, displacement, initial velocity, and acceleration, we will end up with this equation. And simplifying this equation, this is a quadratic equation. So here now, to find the time taken by horse to move from A to B with a constant acceleration, having some initial velocity at A, we are actually interested in solving. We are ending up with solving a quadratic equation. So now the question is method of solving the quadratic equation, how we solve the quadratic equation. So actually, when we say we want to solve the quadratic equation, you take an example. In the last slide we ended up with this equation. So now we have to solve this equation for t. Actually, we are interested in those values of t, those values of time. When we put them in this equation, we end up with 0. That is that we call that value of t which satisfy this equation. So let's put t is equal to 4. Let's put t is equal to 4 in this equation. So when we will put t is equal to 4 in this equation, we will reach here. 4 square plus 4 minus 20 is equal to 0. So which means t is the solution of this equation. T is the time which horse will take to reach the point B. So there are two methods. One is by factorization method and other is method of completing square. And when the generalized formula from this method is quadratic formula. That is when we generalize this method, we end up with a quadratic formula, which we will see in the next few slides. So let's learn about the factorization method. As I have discussed with you, this is a quadratic equation. So let us break this bracket out. We will end up x square minus ax minus bx plus ab. Taking from these two terms x is a common, and from this term minus b is a common, we will reach here x into brackets dot x minus a minus b taken common from these two terms minus b into x minus a. So from these two terms we will take x minus a as a common. So when we take x minus a as a common, we will reach here x minus a into x minus b is equal to 0. So what you will, if I will say you a into b is equal to 0, what that mean? That mean either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0 or both of them can be 0. So a into b will be equal to 0 when either a will be equal to 0, because 0 multiplied by anything is equal to 0. That means when it is given a into b is equal to 0, we can have either a is equal to 0 or b will be equal to 0 or both of them will be equal to 0. Similarly, when we moved from here to here, so that means the quadratic equation we were able to get this form. So when we get this form, it will be easy for us to find a solution, because either of these two terms x minus a will be equal to 0 or x minus b or both can be equal to 0. So by factorization method, we are interested in breaking the polynomial in this form. And you have to note here one thing, that every quadratic equation can be broken, can be converted into this form. This is a quadratic, every quadratic equation can be converted into this form, and a and b can be real or non-real numbers. We can always convert a quadratic equation to this form. Once we reach this form, it is easy to find the solution of the equation. Let's see it in next few slides. X minus a, x minus b is a quadratic equation. So when we let's put x is equal to a. In this equation, we will put x is equal to a. So it is a minus a into brackets dot a minus b bracket close. So 0 into a minus b. That means x is equal to a is the solution of this equation. Similarly, x minus a into x minus b is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation. Let's put in this time x is equal to b. So when we will put x is equal to b, we have b minus a into b minus b. So b minus a into 0 is equal to 0. So that means a and b are the solutions of the equation. This is a method of factorization in which we break the polynomial into two factors. Once we have these two factors, putting x is equal to a gives us 0. Putting x is equal to b again gives us 0. That is x is equal to 0. Thank you very much.